gambling people
Yeah.
were playing the odds and thought there's no way that Mayes is going to be able to sit through 3 shows with Shander. So smart, easy money. The public's money was on the under.
Yeah, the public was all over
The Sharks, though, were hovering around the over.
Well, the Sharks and the Sharps.
Right.
Yes, the 2.5 was the total, and the public was all over the under because they just know you.
Correct.
And they figured that I'd be done with you after an episode or 2.
I've had it.
Yeah,
and we even have, so
Yeah.
you don't know this, but we've got our main cam here.
Yeah.
I've set up a hidden camera.
You have.
So if in fact you hit that breaking point of bleep, I've had it, and you throw stuff and you flip the table over.
Well, I wouldn't do that here.
Well, not here per
like
se,
this
as far
place.
as flip the table over. Yeah, Chuck and Sarge, they're great to
Right,
us
they're
here.
great.
They're not going to have us back.
No.
It's more so the metaphor of you, I've had it, and maybe you say some things that are regrettable next day or two. I wanted to make sure that we had that.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that we could put that on Twitter so everybody could see the
Great.
real Harry Mays.
Yeah. At Shander Show, at Harry Mays
Exactly.
to you. Yeah.
Now, it's a bye week, so we're not going
Yeah.
to dive too deep into the Eagles. Not that we did last week at all, but we're not going to dive too deep into the Eagles because what more can you say about a 4-4 team? We know that they have a lot to work on. At the same time, they're alive.
Right.
They're not dead. At
Right.
3-5, it would have been toast.
No, the Redskins are at 5-2, leading the division, but nobody fears the Redskins as a team that could run away from anybody in this division. They really don't.
No, not
I mean,
even Adrian Peterson, who looks like he's 28
No, I know.
out there. Still, you're right to the sense in which nobody's looking at the Skins thinking, all right, if you can stay somewhat neck and neck with Washington, then all of a sudden you can beat them. I think a lot of people are believing that.
Yeah, plus they've got 2 games with Washington. I mean,
Exactly.
they can basically...
The division is right there because they've 5 of their last 8 are against the division.
Correct. 2 Dallas, 2 Washington, and 1 against the Giants.
That's a lot of
home
ground.
game against the Giants, who are done.
It's amazing how off that team is.
Unbelievable.
And I can't help but laugh. Now, you had notes written about Pat Shurmur, didn't you?
No, not Pat Shurmur
okay.
necessarily. No,
Okay. No?
no, but I'm wondering how many nights Pat Shurmur regrets the organization having taken a running back, at 4 or whatever, or 2.
Right, instead of Sam Darnold.
Instead of Sam Darnold or one of the other quarterbacks.
There are I shouldn't say few times, but it doesn't seem like it happens a lot in which a team, usually in Cleveland, a team will do something so ridiculous and so stupid that you look around and you think, wait a second, there are supposed to be people in this organization that are paid. Where is the vetting process?
Highly paid.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be experts in this
And
field.
yet still, they make some of the most dumbest decisions you've ever seen.
Talent evaluation, consistently screwing it up. Year
Over
after
and
year.
over.
And even the names change. Like in the front offices of some of these teams, you mentioned Cleveland, and right now it's the Giants, where they just... Now, Saquon Barkley's a stud. Nobody's denying that. But I'm just saying, it really wasn't the right pick.
No, you can't win based around a running
Right.
back. Dallas will always be limited due to who's throwing the football, not
Right.
to who's running the football. And they chose to do that. That's what gives me hope with Carson Wentz long term, is that you've got 2 teams right now that have been built around their running backs.
Yeah.
That's not a sustainable, winnable strategy. And then you have Washington, which is being pieced together by Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson.
Right.
Hey, that may work a year,
Yeah.
but that's not a 3-year plan.
Right, I mean,
you don't sit down in the interview and say, what's your 5-year plan? Well, I'm going to roll with Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson.
We're going to get Adrian Peterson off the scrap heap, and he's going to continue being Adrian Peterson of 2008. That's not going to work.
No, not at all.
Long term, no.
Not at all. But at the same time, I think that rightfully so, there's a lot of confidence that has been restored in this team. Not maybe to the level in which at the start of the season, repeat, but I'll give you this. You can legit still talk about making the playoffs at 4-4.
No doubt.
You could not at 3-5.
I still think you could win the division at 3-5.
Really?
Yeah, because the Redskins would be 5-2. I mean, you could still catch the Redskins and win the division. Now, it's not a great spot to be in because you figure you're going to win it at 8-8, maybe 9-7 at best. And do you really stack up against the Rams or the Saints? Going forward, for the rest of the season, probably not, because you're going to have to go on the road and beat dynamic offenses. Both of those teams are incredible offenses, but you can still make the playoffs.
Which loss stings with you the most at 4-4?
Well, Tennessee was brutal. I'd have to say Carolina. You're up 17-0 going into the 4th quarter, in total domination of the opponent. And all of a sudden, Cam Newton's, who's having a great year, by the way. People have kind of not been paying attention.
Right.
His completion percentage is ridiculous, and he's should be in the conversation for MVP if this continues. But
Did you see
that
the
being said, yeah,
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
that's right out of Red Dead Redemption.
That's one of your games,
That's
right?
That's right.
But anyway, now you totally derailed.
Yes,
you did
success.
You did
we need a buzzer or something that's what we need on this show.
Totally
we need to keep score, and we need to have it under in here.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a number under Harry and a number under me. And we know how many times we've successfully derailed the other one.
You did. You totally derailed me.
And the beauty of it is, I don't even remember what you were talking about.
Something about Cam Newton.
Cam Newton has been great, and he's been playing under the radar, flying under the radar with his performance.
But that was the worst loss because you were up 17-0.
They weren't doing anything. They were suffocating.
Yeah, they were suffocating. And all of a sudden, Cam Newton wakes up. Jim Schwartz goes into sort of a like a prevent type of defense, and all of a sudden it's 17-7, 17, and you're like, oh my God, we got a game.
Yeah.
And you lose a game that you had no business losing. That's the worst one.
All right, we're in the bye week.
Yeah.
When is the last time you have brought up the term in a positive light, Super Bowl? I can't remember the last time that I talked about Super Bowl. And I know that we've been gone for a month, but both of us have had other opportunities to talk.
Right, no, it was prior to the season starting and maybe the
that
first
long
week,
ago?
Like going into that Atlanta
After
game.
Atlanta,
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't after Tampa.
No. But yeah, probably the Atlanta game might have been the last time I really thought about it.
Good.
Yeah.
You and I think, are in the minority.
You think so?
Yeah, I think people, once they get a win to kind of bring things back to normal, it's in the back of their mind. Maybe they don't bring it up in the forefront of conversation, lead.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, John, I haven't seen you in 2 years. Eagles are going right back. They got to win. But I think that people are moving back towards it. That win kind of restored some faith. All right, bye week. I don't want to dissect this thing.
No, but I think it gives us another opportunity to talk about some of the other teams in town, like the winter sports teams.
Like Gritty and the Sixers.
Well, see, that's part of the problem, Gritty. But I have a question for you.
What's wrong with Gritty?
Nothing's wrong with Gritty except the fact that that's really the only discussion point of the hockey team.
That shows you where we are.
Awful.
But I don't think that outside of Detroit, Pittsburgh, and
they're
Chicago.
Terrible.
No,
they're terrible.
They're terrible. They are terrible. But I'm saying outside of cities like Detroit, Chicago, and Pittsburgh, and maybe
the Canadian cities.
Yeah, I don't count that.
Right. Nashville is big on the hockey.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Trust me.
It wasn't always that way.
You used to work there before the. I think was it before the hockey?
No, I was there when
you were.
I was there when there were rallies back in 08, and I was part of rallies back in 08.
Oh, you were there in 08
to keep the team there.
Okay, because we know a colleague that works down there 5 days a week on the radio, and it's almost like.
Well, you mentioned Pat Egan last week. You won't mention
Nick Cale. Let's mention Nick Cale.
Come on.
Seriously, like
Throw Nick a bone.
We joke about let's get it back to the Eagles. He is literally getting phone calls from his PD to his producer. Let's get it back to the Preds.
Are you serious?
Swear to God.
Wait a second. That is a reality in which I never thought I would see down in Nashville.
That's a fact.
Oh, no, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
When I was in that, and again, we're talking 08, but how much has changed with college football and the NFL? I mean, the Vols are the Vols.
What was Tennessee back then? Because they've fallen off the map.
They were a little up and down.
Yeah.
They were kind of, this was back when Phil Fulmer was kind of feeling the heat.
Okay.
I'll give you a perfect story. So, I didn't know any better, but apparently you can't rip Phil Fulmer if you're on the air down there, because Tennessee has a tentacle amount of just all these alum that come out, oh, you can't say that about Fulmer. So Fulmer put out a full-page article. I don't know if you remember this. When his punter, I believe it was his punter or kicker, got arrested.
This is really derailed.
And
we're going Phil Fulmer.
I'm telling you, it was one of 6 or 7 kids that got arrested in the offseason. And Fulmer put out this full-page article that said, you can criticize me as a coach, but how dare you criticize me as a leader of men?
Well, that's...
After like 7 kids got arrested. So I ripped into him.
Okay.
And then I found out, because of so many people, I had people in Alabama calling for my job because of ripping Fulmer. But my point of it is, that's in Nashville, 3 hours away from Knoxville. They cared so much about Tennessee football, not to mention the Titans.
Yeah.
The fact that the Preds are number 1?
Yeah. Preds are number 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were going,
but I had a question. Like the Phillies, let's just put the Eagles and the Sixers off the table right now, because I think they are obviously number 1 and number 2 in this city. If the Phillies or the Flyers get off to a poor start in their respective sports in the season, which one of those is more easily erased from your sports consciousness? And it's a different question because with the Phillies, if they get off to a bad start in April and May, you've got things to do in the summer. Other things that occupy you. I play a lot of golf.
Sure.
People go to the shore. There's things to do where you're like, okay, I can do without the baseball team. With the Flyers, it's in a different time of year, where on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night in the middle of January, let's say the Eagles are out of the playoffs. There's nothing to do, but the Flyers are on. You might tune into the Flyers. They don't coincide with the Sixers on a lot of nights.
Right.
Because
very rare you have to double in.
Yeah, it gets dark at 4 o'clock. It gets light at 7:30. There's not a whole lot of fun in the winter, at least for me around here. Like, to me,
you need a Conshohocken baby.
I do. Jesus. Anyway, for me, it would be the Phillies, because I can replace that, and already have, with golf.
Okay.
What about you?
I think,
because you're a big Sixer guy.
Well, I feel like, what else is going on from a sports standpoint? That's how I begin to answer this question. So it's the Sixers, it's the Flyers for me, but not because of the Sixers. I look at it and I think, if I don't want to watch the Phillies because they're 10-30 over the first stretch of their 40 games, month and a half, then I only have baseball to really turn to. Summer has other things I can watch. I can watch golf, I can watch other sports, but it's not the same as being immersed in that winter culture.
You can play Red Dead Redemption.
I could. Maybe I'll hold off, right, until the Eagles season ends.
Yeah.
And then once the Eagles season ends, I'll wait for a night in which the Flyers only are on, and I'm telling you, man, I spent 8 hours the other day playing that game.
Is that right?
8 hours. And I got to be honest with you, it felt like I blinked. It felt like
I just flew by.
No, I looked up and I thought to myself, if I don't stop, this is going to be another 8 hours. I could have legit played for 16 hours straight. There's nothing you could do for 16 hours straight except sleep.
Nah,
I guarantee.
I can't get into those things on the show, but I think I might be able to fight you on that with something.
Well, if you had a little help.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
But anyway,
a little extra help.
Actually,
so I think my point is it's the Flyers, because I can turn and watch Russell Westbrook play. I can turn and watch LeBron James play. I'm such a fan of the NBA.
College basketball too is on.
Absolutely, there are things that I'm attracted to from a sports standpoint that I can substitute the Flyers with. Baseball, it's kind of more difficult. So I think it's easier for the Flyers to be forgotten. But we kid. Honestly, the Flyers are more popular now than they've been since 2010.
Well, because of Gritty?
Yeah.
That doesn't make the Flyers more popular. To me, it'll make Gritty popular.
But don't you think people are going to games to see Gritty?
I don't know. I'm not the guy to ask. Because I couldn't care less about the mascot.
You could give your opinion. You see how people react to the mascot.
I see how people react. I don't know that people are buying tickets to a Flyers game that otherwise wouldn't go just so they can take their kid down to see Gritty rappel from the ceiling. You know what I'm saying?
Like Jean-Claude Van Damme,
yeah, exactly.
Sudden Death.
Really? Like, wasn't there a Stallone movie where it was not Cliffhanger? There was some movie where he was like climbing a big mountain too, wasn't it? Back in the 80s?
Cliffhanger.
Was that Cliffhanger?
Yeah.
We get back to John Lithgow, right?
That's
he was
right.
in that. Yeah.
See, you're learning.
Episode 1
you're learning.
Of the podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why did you go Cliffhanger?
Well, because I'm talking about rappelling.
Oh. Why didn't you go Jean-Claude Van Damme Sudden Death?
Yeah.
It's the Pittsburgh Penguins Stadium.
Oh, and that's right.
He does the same exact thing.
It was the old Mellon Arena, right?
Yeah,
It was like an observatory.
Absolutely.
Thing,
and you're giving me Cliffhanger. First off, you know who John Lithgow is, so I still don't believe that in the first episode. And
I lied.
You're going Cliffhanger as opposed to Jean-Claude.
Yeah. Jean-Claude Van Damme is making a comeback. He's in some commercial campaign now. I can't remember what it is. He's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Have you ever seen...
It's a goof.
Have you seen that? Well, he's got a new show out on Prime.
Oh, he does.
That's called
Amazon Prime.
Jean-Claude Van Johnson, I believe. in which the premise is asking Chris.
Poor Chris is over here filming. He's got the lights. He's
What?
worried about the sun coming in the window here at the
Jean-Claude
Great American
Van
Pub, and you're
Johnson.
asking some stupid question.
I think it's the name of the show.